Hey, welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. I know it's been a number of months since I last posted anything, but life got busy and um, haven't gotten a lot of gaming in, and the little that I did get, I didn't feel the um impetus or wherewithal to do any videos on things that I was doing. Um, and this one is kind of a surprise for me. Um, it's not something after the new year, and I decided to do some more videos, and I have plenty to take a look at, and both things that are new to me, things that are old, um, things I would just feel like sharing, some of my experiences with the systems that I enjoy or that I'm trying out. Um, but this one is, I did not expect to be starting the new year with in my first video for quite a while. Um, Partly because I had commands and colors, the ancients, and quite a few of the Napoleonic commands and colors. Never got the medieval or the American Revolution commands and colors. Um, but I had most of those from the series, those two series, and I I just couldn't seem to get into them. I know that there's a little bit lost when you're playing solo, um, but either face to face or solo. I don't know. It was something about playing them. I never felt the urge to get them out, and there were so many different um, scenarios and battles in all those um, different additions and add-ons, and I it just felt a little bit like it was too much, and maybe a little bit too much all the same. Um, I never felt like that my strategy was making a big difference in the play of the game, and so even though they might be fun to play in some ways, um, and not have to put too much thought into getting a game going, I never really particularly enjoyed those. And that may be blasphemous for quite a few people, but that was just how I felt. And then I saw a few posts about this edition, in set with the samurai battles, and it piqued my curiosity because there's a couple of different things that are added to this one that I think makes a difference for me. And I had a few chances to purchase a copy, and finally this one came up. It was a brand new copy, but as you can see, the box was damaged in transit by before I got it. But the original owner was selling it for a very nice price, and so I thought, well, I'll give it a chance. So I did, and I've been pleasantly surprised. And I think the main reason is, well, actually, there's several reasons that I think I've grabbed hold of this and enjoyed it a little bit more. One is the fact that there's a limited number of different units. The historical situations are interesting. I'll show you the one that I'm doing. Actually, it's the first historical battle that's listed in the scenario book. But I kind of like the fact that there's a limit to the number of or types of units that are actually in a particular battle. You know, I granted that if you're doing Napoleonics, say there's a difference in how the Austrians fight compared to the French, compared to the Spanish, compared to the English, etc. And there's some interesting nuances there. But in some ways, I like the fact that basically there's these 8 types of 8 types of units, and then the 2 types of leaders, foot and mounted cavalry leader, and that does make a difference. And then this army commander and bodyguards that doesn't always show up in all the scenarios, but that's an interesting twist as well. It's a little bit more, I'm not going to say chess-like, but with a limited number of types of units, I think you can get into more of the strategy, even though on some of the scenarios, on many of the scenarios, it's not necessarily an even type of situation, as you'll find in this scenario I'll show you in a second. And it's a matter of mastering, I think, what the advantages and disadvantages of each of the units are. And it just feels like I can focus a little bit better with a limited number of types, and then you're getting a little more into the nitty-gritty strategy, or at least I'm able to. That's part of it. The other parts that I find interesting are these dragon cards, which are, for those of you unfamiliar with samurai battles, maybe you're familiar with Commands and Colors, but with these dragon cards, there's some interesting things, options that you can do in the cards that come up, and I will find one of the cards that basically turned the whole battle. Turned the whole battle. And the last time I played this scenario, but you can. I'm not going to do a whole review of this game, but I just want to give you a taste of some of the cards that come up. Now these dragon cards, it varies how many you will have at the start of the game. In this particular scenario, there's only 1 per side. But the upper red number here is kind of the other part of that makes samurai battles so much fun and a little more interesting, I think, than some of the other Commands and Colors series. And that's these fortunes. They call them honor and fortune token. As I was saying before, I rudely dropped all the dragon cards. One of the things that drives this game, and specifically the use of the dragon cards, are these honor and fortune tokens. And it's obvious if you take a look at the upper left red circled number. That's the number of honors and fortune tokens you need to spend in order to play this particular card. 3 is fairly expensive, 1 is cheaper. There's a 4. There's at least 1 that I've come across. I haven't perused through every one of these. There's a 0, so that's free. I like the fact that it's very obvious in when you can play the card. There's not a lot of ambiguity. when you take a look at the options that are laid out in the card. I really like those. And the honors and fortune tokens, besides spending those in order to play a dragon card, the other way they really come into play is if a unit retreats, most likely, in most cases, you're going to have to spend, or rather lose, some of these honors and fortune tokens. What I like is, especially the elite units, the red square units, it's going to be more costly. And it makes total sense, because as they retreat, much as the old guard in a Napoleonic system, if the old guard retreats or loses a battle, there's going to be a bigger price to pay for morale on that side. The same goes for here. So if you have enough tokens in your pile, in your reserve pile that you've accumulated through the game, then you'll be able to afford retreats. If you don't have enough tokens to pay, that retreat is going to cost more on a fortune. They call it a fortune and honor and fortune roll. And I'm not going to go into specifics on that. I'm hoping you'll see it in the gameplay when I play this scenario out. But it's a very simple but ingenious way to give you a flavor of samurai warfare, and to make this particular edition of Commands and Colors unique. And for me, it's just more fun. And I think some other people have come to that conclusion as well. If they had to rate which is the most fun to play of all the Commands and Colors games, and I think they might land on this, and I would definitely agree with that. So with the difference with the dragon cards and the honor and fortune tokens, and the fact that this, again, I say limited number of types of units, really lets you focus. And just to set this scenario up, before we get into play, and you have 4 unit blocks of samurai cavalry, bowmen, and a mounted leader. And that's on the Mori clan side. And then the Takeda clan is engaging with 3 bowed units, but only 1 is elite and nobody is mounted. And then they're backed up by 4 the blue triangle mid-level spearmen. So it's really kind of you look at this setup. There's not tons of units on here, but the first time I played it, it was just so much fun, because each side had different options, different strategies. I ended up, well, I'm not going to describe the last game. I'm hoping that this next replay will be as interesting as the last time I played this particular scenario. But it's just the choices you have here are interesting because it is so asymmetrical. In the original historical battle, I believe they described both sides as kind of staying back and just firing from long range, and eventually the Takeda leader was taken down and the Takeda clan retreated. So the historical battle, the Mori clan was victorious. And it seems like, despite the fact that there's obviously 2 more, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, is it 3 more units on the Takeda side, the blue side. But if you take a look again, the Mori clan has 4 mounted cavalry or mounted bowmen, samurai bowmen, and that's going to make quite a bit of difference as far as offensive capabilities and flexibility as far as staying back and firing or charging and doing close combat, because either way they're much more powerful. But there are options for the Takeda clan, and when I first played it, the Takeda clan was behind 2 flags to 1. You only need, or banners. You only need 3 banners to win this battle, and they were behind 2 to 1. And a dragon card showed up, which basically on the Takeda clan side, and that basically turned the tide. They were in a position to kind of throw caution to the wind, and they eked out a victory. So the first one, the Mori clan did not win. So I'm going to change my strategy a little bit, I think, and see if it the results are different. So we'll get everything else set up and get the cards dealt, and take a look at this fascinating game. See you next time. Thanks.